for the youth. Why I mentioned the youth? The largest demographic country we are now. We recently overtook the China with the in terms of demography. Now, what are the challenges and opportunities for our youth? Because the future is our youth only. So, how to tackle these biodiversity crisis and as well as the climate change scenarios? So this talk is based on the how to tackle this biodiversity and how it is important for the future society. So myself, Dr. Wajid Pasha, Bricks Young Scientist, currently a senior postdoc at National Institute of Advanced Studies, NIAS IISc campus, Bengaluru. So first of all, we are all talking about the biodiversity. So now we all know biodiversity is a variation and variability of life on Earth. So what are the levels of biodiversity? So there are three major levels of biodiversity. If we go further, it is a very intense and extensive information is available. So basically, I am giving the glimpse of this. The levels of biodiversity is genetical level variation. See, you can have the biological markers, the genetic markers to identify the species. That is called genetic biodiversity. If you see species, we can identify neem trees and as well as the teak and the salt tree. That is a species level diversity. This another is a landscape level. We have the grassland. If you see the run of Kutch, you have hot climate, wetland, some desert ecosystem in the run of Kutch, and as well as if you see Arunachal Pradesh, wet evergreen forest and Himalayan vegetation, and if you come to the southern India, tropical moist deciduous and as well as the dry deciduous forest. So now we will talk about the biodiversity. Before talking about the biodiversity, you should know aware of these the forest types of India. This is very important to know everyone about the forest types of India, because the biodiversity is interlinked with this forest type, vegetation cover and forest types. This is recently published data from Reddy et al. 2015 is from senior scientist at ISRO and is my PhD guide. So what the biodiversity and forest types of India? There are many forest types. If you see, there are tropical wet evergreen forests to other moist deciduous, dry deciduous, and tropical semi-evergreen forest. The majority of the forest with respect to the total land cover is very less. So our land is more 53%. Here I think you are able to see the yellow marked one. The 53.21% of the area under agriculture. Now you can understood that the forests are very, very less. That too, the native forests are very less compared to the man-made. So everywhere in all the sectors, the human footprint is increasing. That is what we are going to discuss. So the majority of the forest after agriculture, the forest is dry deciduous forest and moist deciduous forest, and very less amount of semi-evergreen and evergreen forest is available in the country with respect to the total area. So one way we are having very limited resources. Another way we have population explosion, and there are studies on the vegetation types in India. You can see here there are two major studies, the forest types and land cover. This is previously what I showed Reddy et al. From ISRO 2015 map, and another is also showing there is an increasing in the plantations in the country. That is also evident from these maps. So the majority of the areas are dry deciduous forest, but again you can see this is the pink color one. Here you can see the expansion of the plantations. So the Forest Survey of India also confirms that there is a expansion of the forest in the majority of the Indian states. So there is a another pressure in the natural resources. So what is the positive side of the country? So we have a 998 established protected areas in the country according to the last year's database, updated database. We have 106 national parks, 567 wildlife sanctuaries are there. We have 105 conservation reserves and 220 community reserves. When local people, they will conserve the forest. So that is there. So, but if you see the in terms of cover, that is total 5.28% of the country's geographical area. So we also have the country is flourished with the UNESCO, blessed with the UNESCO World Heritage Sites in the India. You can able to see this UNESCO's World Heritage Sites. There are 7 UNESCO World Heritage Sites in the country in the different parts. You can see the Great Himalayan National Park. It is in the Himachal Pradesh, recently declared. But in the 1985, the Manas National Park in Assam, Rajasthan, Assam again, Kaziranga National Park, Sundarban National Park, West Bengal, Nanda Devi, and Valley of Flowers have this. And country also established a tiger population. Now in the recent one, we have the highest tiger density in the southern India, in the Nagarhole Tiger Reserve. So that is indicating the increasing the wildlife population. So one way we are doing conservation, another way the population expansion also we can see in the both human population expansion and as well as wildlife population expansion. As I said previously, we have very limited resources. Now I will show what are the issues for these two scenarios. Means one way population expansion, another is limited resources. Now the pressure on the forest has started. So this is our study. The Reddy et al. We carried out at ISRO. So here you can see these areas are previously flourished with a lot of biodiversity, plant, animal, and also microbes in the forest. These satellite pictures can be seen here. I think these slides are clearly visible to you. Here you can see the part of Sonitpur district, Assam, here completely lost its forest. That is most of the moist deciduous forest, which is previously host for the many animal and plant. Now it is completely changed as the agriculture land. So now you can able to see another example in the Navrangpur district of Odisha, this area. Here, 1975 and a current scenario, we see the entire forest patch was lost due to the expansion of the agriculture. There is another loss due to the tsunami, earthquake. Here, another example near Shermi Island, Andaman, you can able to see there is a loss, clear indication of loss of forest. There are many hundreds of hectares, thousands of hectares of wet evergreen mangrove ecosystems, and starting from all type of forest, we are destroying. One is human caused, another is anthropogenic and natural calamities. So this is one of ground study carried out by me. You see very interestingly how we can detect what we are doing currently. We are detecting how much forest was lost due to the shifting cultivation. It is the remote areas of Nagaland. There actually, if you do any sampling, the local, because of the forest is under the local people. The forest rights are given to the local tribes. If you do any conservation measures here, they will not come and cope up with you, because their practice is cut the wood in like these pieces, and then they will take this into their home, and every day their energy consumption, like a firewood, they will use these resources. So here you can able to see from a hill region, we have taken this picture, the lot of smoke is coming. That is means they cut the forest and they clear this area, and they will do the agriculture. Once they will do the agriculture, this entire forest area looks like the complete barren areas. So the shifting cultivation, previously every 10 years they'll go to the one area and they'll cut the forest and they'll do the agriculture. After the soil productivity losses, then they'll migrate to the other areas, and again 10 years it will come. Because of the population expansion, what happened now, every year they are cutting and they are changing to the shifting cultivation to the more permanent agriculture. And now you can see the issues with the land as well as the water, other resources in the northeastern regions, and uncertainty in the northeastern region and the hill region, and as well as the plain regions recently with the Manipur issues with the, all these resources. So many issues with the all one. But if you see this area, it was designated as the World Biodiversity Hotspot, Northeast Indo-Burma Biodiversity Hotspot. So this is the scenario in the biodiversity hotspot. So this is one of our study reveals that what will happen. As I showed in the previous slide, if you lost the forest, what will happen? So we have seen that once the forest, the pristine or a primary forest was lost, or any forest cover was lost, it will subsequently increase the land surface temperature by 2 to 4 degrees temperature. Our recent study also reveals that temperature has been increased before and after. Here you can clearly see temperature and also soil moisture. You can see here all blue, you can see the green forest actually with a less temperature. Now the all red patches, whatever you see, there is a loss of the forest due to landslide, due to deforestation. So there is a changes in the land surface temperature from previously it was 25, now it has reached to the 28 and 29 degrees temperature. So these are all the alarming messages to the world. Not only India, this is the common global problem. So there is an impact of the microclimate, as I showed previously. It will impact the biodiversity and as well as the structure, function, and composition of the forest. So there is another example. Now our country, majority of our resources or our electricity consumptions are taken from the open cast or mining. I mean, that is burning of fossil fuels. So previously we used the burning of biomass. Now we are migrating to the LPG. We are migrating to the electricity stoves now. But however, the recent times, the 80% of the energy consumption for India is from the burning the oil, fossil fuels. So this is the one classical example from our study. You can able to see this is a wildlife reserve forest area, which is having lot of wildlife flora and fauna. Now you can see in the 2020 scenario, the entire area was done, the land was transformed to the open cast mining. So the government want, because we need electricity. Now we are all sitting in AC rooms or any with the fan, whatever they're running, they are all running through electricity. Unfortunately, in our country, we are all solely depends on the coal and coal-based electricity generation. We are all having thermal power stations. So for all thermal power stations should be worked with the open mining. So it's a open cast mining or underground mining, but we should work with the mining only. So we don't have other alternative. Currently, 80% of the energy consumption, majority of the consumption is from the coal and burning the fossil fuels. So now another issues with the biodiversity is invasive alien species. This is majority of the people, they are ignored because they are not detected properly. The invasive alien species means they are new to the that ecosystem, and that will suppress the native biodiversity. Any species entered from the one place to the another place. For example, you take the Prosopis juliflora, it is from the North America. It has reached our country because we are more solely on the sorry, there is an interruption. We are solely depends on the firewood for the this species. So we taken the invasive species, the species. Now this invasive species is entered in the majority of the arid and semi-arid regions of the countries. Now this is one of the biggest driver for the biodiversity loss and species extinction as per the IUCN. So what are the impacts of the invasive alien species? So if you measure in terms of economic cost, it is 1.28 trillion is minimum economic cost by the invasive alien species from the 1970s to 2070s reports. We don't know the current scenario, but I lost lot of lost. Like African countries are completely they are fed up with this invasive alien species. Our India is also a victim of this invasive alien species. There are 1 out of 10, one species is going to threatened by this red IUCN red list species are threatened by the invasive alien species. This issue is also critical to the human health, food security, livelihood, and economics. So what will happen? For example, you take the grasslands. See, one species of invasion is going to a grassland. This is another study from our team at NRSC. We did satellite image based the quantification of invasion of Prosopis juliflora. This species, what will happen once the invasive species entered into the natural ecosystem? For example, you take the this site in Run of Kutch. Previously, it was a lot of grasslands. So this all colored one, green color is invasion. If you see the invasion, when invasion increases, that all grasslands are declined. So what will happen if grasslands are declined? So what will happen? Means there is a tribal community or the community, local community, they solely depends on these grassland to feed their cattle. So that area is called Bunny grasslands, in the world's largest and finest grasslands in Run of Kutch. Our India is blessed with the that type of grassland. So that grasses are very important fodder for the our cattle. So that cattle cattle will give the milk. That milk will come as a milk products and milk, kova, and all will they'll make by the rural community. That now what happened, because of the declining the grassland, non-availability of grassland, they are not going to cultivate. I mean, growth the livelihood. So it is highly impacted on their livelihood. So that's why it is very important to before, if you understand this properly, you can eradicate this invasive alien species and replace with a grassland. So that could be the better. But now scenario has been changed. Now all domestic and the wild animals also suffered because of the invasive alien species. Because we have not taken the conservation measures, that's why it is high impact on the rural livelihood. So now what happened? what are the energy demands? Now we have seen what are the issues with the biodiversity and climate change. Number one is habitat loss. Number two, what we have seen is deforestation and degradation. Number three, landslides we have seen. Number four, what we have seen, there is a impact of invasive alien species we have seen. And previously I showed there is a huge energy demand and impact on biodiversity. If you see the report by the clean energy, the number of clean air days in the country in 2017 to 2019, you see very less number of clean air days, below 100. Means out of 360 days, we are having 100 number of clean air days. That is very low. That is very hazardous to the humankind. See, in the Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh, and also northern portion of the Delhi, NCR, all these Noida regions are, I think my slides are visible, I think. Okay, yeah.
Yes, Dr. Saab, go ahead.
Yeah, because there is a power cut here. Yeah, there is a huge demand for the energy consumption and impact on the biodiversity. As I showed, the number of clean air days are declining. That is very alarming. But if you see we should not happy with the yellow line also, because most of the areas are 200 to between 200 to 300. Means we are also receiving like a parts of Pune and Hyderabad and all metropolitan cities, and as well as the cosmopolitan cities. They are all already exhausted with this air pollution. Recently, this PM 2.5 and PM 10. So these are all causing how the situation. What was the situation in the New Delhi? Everybody knows in the news. So there is some facts are there. We should see the type of facts actually. What are those facts? See, in India, we are the third largest global emitter of carbon dioxide, CO2 emissions. So we are the responsible. Despite the low per capita CO2 emissions, but the energy use, if you see the electricity, that was doubled since 2000 year, because we are all previously used electricity is very less. Now we are all using electricity for our daily consumption. Over 80% of the demand is still being met by the burning of fossil fuel, as I said, coal, oil, and solid biomass. I mean, in the majority of the rural areas, you can see the solid biomass burning, and nearly half of the Indian population lives in a regions where fewer than 200 clean air days in a year. So this is very alarming situation. We are not living the society in a cleaner air society, or a previously our forefathers are lived here. We are not living in a air. That air quality we are not maintained properly because of the rapid urbanization and globalization. So what will happen if this type of issues are there? So we have some data with a key biodiversity area in the Western Ghat. So now you can see it will increase the number of conflict. As I said previously, there is a increasing trend because we are the largest demography, highest population in the world. Number two, we are increasing population of wildlife. So what will happen? And we have limited resources of natural resources like a forestry and also natural landscapes. So what will happen? There is a case study from 3 districts. What is happening from 4 successive years we have taken from the forest department. What it shows, from 4,000 number of human wildlife conflicts incidents, and which will cost 2.8 crores, mean 28 millions to, it has reached to the 104 millions. So now number of cases, in terms of number of cases increasing annually, if you see the cumulative number, 4,000 to 34,000 human wildlife conflicts are increasing. So every day in newspaper we are seeing elephant entered to the cropland and damaged, and a tiger killed a person. There are single newses, but if you keep these newses, these all incidences in a framework, now you can know how much compensation they are paying. So that compensation is, for example, here for 3 districts of Karnataka, it's a 104 million, means around 10 crores rupees. So these 104 million rupees, they are where they are taking, or where, how they are compensating. That we should understand. This is taken from the taxpayers' money. So we have to reduce this so that we can save the money to the government. So government money is from the taxpayers. This we should understand. So here, number of incidences where compensation paid, we have showed here. So now what to measure? What is the solution for this? Because a lot of environmental degradation is happening, invasive alien species, another is a deforestation. Now how to measure, monitor the space? There is a state-of-art technology, that is remote sensing and GIS, along with the forestry and biodiversity background. What we can measure is earth observation. It can be measured various land resources such as land and vegetation cover, and ecosystem, community, species, and vegetation, climate, like land surface temperature, precipitation, phenology, biomass and carbon, growing stock, and disturbance regimes. Disturbance regimes like a fire. There is a ground fire, surface fire is happening. You can detect immediately by the satellite remote sensing. So the near real-time detection can be happened through the satellite remote sensing. The trees outside forest, if any trees outside forest increasing or declining, and biologically significant areas like a Wettergin forest, Shola forest in the Nilgiri areas, and cloud forest in the Meghalayas. So we can all monitor. Because of this, we are strict conservation measures we can take. Is there any deforestation is happened, immediately we can go there and we can stop further deforestation and degradation of the resources. Now we all know what are the issues, opportunity, challenges. Now what is requirement now? Because we know biodiversity is consistently degrading, not only India, globally. If you see the Europe, recently they are come up with a ambitious program. By 2030 or 2050, they will do the net zero. They will go for the net zero targets. But what happened? Because of the war situation, Russia and Ukraine, they again started the they are temporarily started the thermal power projects, that again mining. So if you go for the thermal, because it is easily available. Why we are going for the thermal? It is easily available, and there are a lot of resources, but that resources inside the forest only. So now what is our target? How India's youth can transition from the awareness to action in biodiversity conservation? So now need for a igniting for a change. So in global, it is closely linked with our title. The global usage of plastic brushes are not available for the estimate, but there is an estimate. It is showing 29 billion brushes we are using. The plastic, you know how much it is impact our environment. So not only plastic, all plastic related brushes, not only brushes and others also impact a lot. It is significant concern, and efforts being made for the globally to reduce the plastic. The top 10 countries like Sweden, America, The few are they are going promoting for the recycle and sustainable alternatives. So it is very important where do we start. So we should start from somewhere. So as I told previously, 300 years back, 3000 years BC, we used the plant-based material. Now what happened? Because of the depletion in the natural resources, in 18th century, the cattle bone-based toothbrush were introduced, and after that, the modern toothbrush are introduced. That is with the plastic again. So now what are the challenges in our country? So we need more action. So there is an ambitious and comprehensive action plans is required from the top to bottom level, balancing the immediate energy needs with a long-term sustainability goals. India is also one of the signatory country for the SDGs and as well as a UN framework. Dependence on states commitment and cooperation. Now what will happen? India is union of states, so now we need a cooperation and coordination between these member states, and also required for the forest policy, need for a revised national policy along with the forest strategy. So what is requirement now? What is the advice to the youth ambassadors efforts? So you take any project, not for this brush for biodiversity, any project. What is the impact indicator that reflects the goal and the objectives of the conservation project are such as changes in practice or awareness? That means whether our project is going in a proper shape or not, whether we are achieving the goals or objectives for the project or not. That is very much important. That is called impact indicators. Number two is we should work in a indicator like a SMART: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. See, if you take the this new initiative, Brush for Biodiversity, so it should be a very specific. Why we need this? We are very specific that we don't want plastic because it is environmentally hazard. And measurable. We know the quantity is very high, number of brushes we are using and plastic contamination. Now we need to go for the biodegradable. So whether it is achievable, yes, it is achievable because there is an alternative bamboo based. We are getting bamboo is one of the fast growing species. So our farmers can be benefited. Yes, it is a relevant. Yes, it is a relevant for the biodiversity and climate change. Majority of the countries now are interested. It is a not only national or a local or a national, it's an international relevant, and it's a time bond. Now we have any time bond? Yes, we have time bond as per the our to reach the smaller target and a larger target and SDG targets by 2030, we should be a time bond. So how to improve our success rate? That is conducting surveys, interviews. We need to go for the larger stakeholders and also the forest communities and local people involvement, schools, colleges, media, and other conservation practitioners to assess their knowledge. You have to listen. The problem is we will not listen. We will explain to them. First, we will listen from them, and then we will explain to the local people, poor people, and uneducated persons and illiterate one. We have to explain them, and then we have to understand behaviors regarding the brush for the biodiversity, and we should take the feedbacks from them, and we have to go with a new plan. So now in conclusion, what is the SWOT analysis for our country, for our betterment of future for biodiversity target? Here, 3 circles, what we are exactly showing: we need cooperation, we need balanced approach to achieve the SDGs, we need MRV, monitoring, reporting, and verification. So we have to monitor that, is there any impact on the ground or no, then reporting, and we have to verify to achieve the biodiversity target. So what is our strength? We have more than 72 million hectares of forest, which is, but previously we have much higher in the past, and we have a established protected area network. The weakness, the energy crisis post Russia Ukraine war, and now there is a again people are going for a few areas, they are going for the firewood burning, biomass burning, because of the gas prices are increases, gas cylinder, LPG gas cylinders are increasing. It to achieve the 2020 target. So these are the weakness for our country. The species and habitat vulnerability are they degraded and fragmented in the country. And now what is the opportunities? Here I highlighted youth. We have the very good number of youngsters in the countries. Those want to go for the protection or conservation of the biodiversity in NGO sectors, government sector, private sector there, but the lack of awareness and ignition. So everybody knows, but who will ignite or who will act? That is very much important. So economic and diplomatic and technological influence by the country in the world, and also in the pandemic also we noticed some recovery, green recovery from the pandemic also we noticed because of the less human footprint on the natural vegetations. So now it is required between synergy between the biodiversity 2030 target and 2070 net zero target and nature based solutions. So again, all nature based or ecosystem based services are nature based solutions are planting, afforestation. These are all we are doing, but we need to go for the MRV, monitoring, reporting and verification. Otherwise we are planting, one way we are planting the plantations, another way we are losing the forest. We should be in a measurable situations. So another is, what is the threat? The environment and the socio-economic challenges, long-term coordination and cooperation, uncertainty in implementing the project and fund allocation. What will happen when we start in a project and we thought that we'll initially motivate, and but a few days or few months and few years we will say our motivation will deteriorate because our society is new to this. They say, what is the use, why you are saying this? So they are discourage you, but you have to go with the environmental and societal challenges. Then only you can achieve the long-term coordination and cooperation with the people. See, few people, they won't agree. We should not disappoint with them. We should go to the local and people, and at least one or few they practice immediately though. How the mango plantations are happened in the country, I will give you one example. Few are not agreed to take the plantations, who when it will give yield like that, they are in negative. But few farmers, they come with a mango. Now you can see the Maliabad mango. Now hundreds and thousands of acres land is under mango. So that ignite is required. Similar way, our brush for biodiversity also, ignition is required. That will take time, but definitely will success because it is a biodegradable and plastic is a non-biodegradable and a health hazardous. If you burn the plastic, they'll give some suggestions. You can burn it. You can burn. There is a greenhouse gases also will impact the global one. So what are the career opportunities for the youngsters in the biodiversity and sustainable jobs? So you can go for the climate change, sustainable. What I suggest, don't go for the one aspects. You can go with a multi and interdisciplinary approach, such as you can take the field data and coupled with the remote sensing data, you can become a remote sensing expert in the field of GIS and remote sensing for a climate change. Nowadays, biodiversity jobs is also available for planets, diverse species and ecosystems. They can be found inside the chemical companies, and also NASA's carbon cycle assessment and ecosystem. In our also a lot of carbon cycle assessment and ecosystem services jobs are available, and nature conservation jobs is also available. And you can also go for the conservation international to seek a new ways of protect the nature and the climate in the ways. So nature-based solutions like environmental analyst, EIA analysis, environmental impact analysis. So this type of jobs can be oriented. Thank you, my all previous organizations and students for your kind cooperation. Thank you, one and all.